I just watched Captain Fantastic, and I thought it was pretty fantastic. I liked it a lot. Um, it reminded me a lot of Leave No Trace, which is a film that came out a couple of years after it, and that's basically about like a guy living with his daughter in the woods, and then sort of because it's illegal living in public woods, they get found out and they get brought into the real world, and so it's very similar in that way. Like they have to come to grips with the fact that they don't have a normal life, and it plays with, is this a good thing, is it a bad thing, is it somewhere in between, um but whereas I think that is very very naturalistic, to the point where like it's naturally shot and completely natural dialogue and everything, and anyone who enjoyed Captain Fantastic, I'd recommend that a lot. Whereas that's realistic, I think sometimes this strays from what's believable or what would happen in real life for the sake of kind of rounding off a character arc or for a comedic moment. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I really loved the film, and it was funny. Like the comedy did work, even though it's not strictly speaking a comedy. I wouldn't have said. Um, but I think the bits that are a bit strange is maybe the ending, because the grandparents want to take the kids off. Ben, I think Viggo Mortensen's character's called, and that's perfectly understandable because he has done a lot of bad stuff. But then at the end, when spoilers, they take her body and everything and do all that stuff. He's living with them at the end, and I feel like they wouldn't just let him do that. Maybe the last scene takes place like a year later, but even then, I'm not sure they'd completely trust him. So it's a nice ending of the character arc. Yeah, they still have a sort of farm life, but they're a bit more in real life, a bit more in society. But I'm not convinced that the characters would allow him to still take care of them, to be honest. But it was really good. But there's a bit in the film where one of the daughters, I don't remember her name because they've all got very original names. That's the whole point. She's reading Lolita, and Ben asks her what she thinks of it, and she says it's interesting, and he says interesting's a non-word because, like, what do you mean? Interesting is nothing. What specifically, tell me what you think of it. And I think interesting is a good word to describe Captain Fantastic as a film, because I don't know what I think of it really. I think I know that I sympathised with the characters at every point, even when it was completely contradictory, and I think that's why the script is so good, is because when the characters are doing things which I think are abhorrent or just they're not for me in the slightest, I still completely see their point of view. And there's things like they're celebrating that random guy, I can't remember his name, and one of the kids wants to celebrate Christmas, and he's like, all right, give us a good reason why we celebrate Christmas, and he can't really think of one, because at the end of the day, yeah, it's just, they're not Christians, like, it's just a bit of fun. With the other holidays, a bit of fun. So it would always be, you can see the sides of the argument that you would in normal life never agree with, and I think that's definitely a strength. The whole film in general, it doesn't feel like it's got a message. It feels more like, I'll present some ideas to you, and you come up with for yourself what you think. And so that in that case, I think it's interesting, because I don't really know what I think of it. I think he means well, the dad, but I think he's wrong. But then again, I don't know. Something that I did think was annoying, though, although again it works. See, that's why I'm so split on it. Is the opening scene is like them hunting a deer, which I've seen in so many films. It's the start of Twilight. It's the start of that terrible Ben Shapiro film that came out this year. So that made me instantly dislike them. But then they did a good job of making you feel sympathetic. Something else, right? The ending, though, more about why the ending didn't really satisfy me that much. It didn't, like the whole film. But the eldest kid, his whole thing is he's been applying to colleges, and he gets into all these like top places, and then at the end he's suddenly traveling to Namibia or something, and that's like, well, hang on, that's, if you kind of bent reality to finish the character arcs in other places, this guy's thing isn't that he wants to go to Namibia. This guy's thing is he wants to go to college. Like, that doesn't. So I felt that was very strange and very out of nowhere. But otherwise, it was. I definitely really enjoyed it. It's strange because I don't know my opinions on the messages. I don't know. I just was generally like, it was interesting to watch, and I was always entertained. It was funny, the characters were likable or not. They were three dimensional. You were invested. I would definitely recommend people watch it. Um, I'd also recommend Leave No Trace if you enjoyed this. So yeah, that was the 4-star film, Captain Fantastic. I liked it. It was fantastic.